Eat earspurs.
Vinegar.
What'd you say? Did you say vinegar?
Vinegar. I did. I love vinegar.
Where's that chat? What a surprise, there's nobody there.
Hi, no one?
Hello, nobody.
Hello.
I think we're a tiny bit loud. It sounds good to me. I don't sound too loud.
We're flipping like crazy, though. Should I turn the mic down?
Tiny bit.
The level, or where's your input?
The level. I don't have input volume. Okay, so how does... I have... It only does that if I do that. So I think we're good.
We definitely prepared for this before we started.
Yeah. No.
We just sat here and talked about umlauted letters for half an hour.
That is true. We did that thing.
Okay.
This is why we said, eat earspurs. Vinegar.
Vinegar! Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh. So, obviously, we're doing cigars and whiskey because that's 90% of what we are, which makes us both happy.
Between the two of us, we're 180% cigars and whiskey.
Oh. Oh. What?
My math does not check out.
Okay. Speaking of checking out, that one guy died. So let's do this
Who's
whiskey
that?
thing. Oh, I don't know. I didn't come up with anyone. I just want to say somebody died.
He sure did.
He's dead.
F.
Whiskey.
Suntory Whiskey Toki by Suntory
Toki.
Whiskey. You might call it Suntory Whiskey Toki. You might call it Suntory Toki. You might call it whiskey.
Either way, you're wrong.
Yeah, because it's Suntory Toki.
Because I replaced it with
whiskey.
apple juice.
What? Oh, yeah.
So this is the first time either of us have tried this, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So that's going to make for a fun time. This is not the first time either of us have tried the cigars that we have today.
But that's all the cigars we had at the moment.
Well,
we're cycling at the moment.
We were cycling. We're too lazy to
Go to the cigar
offline.
store.
Well, that too. Didn't have time to go to the cigar store. Didn't have time to get on my phone and order them offline. That's how lazy I am. But these are the Leaf by Oscars. They're fantastic. Sean doesn't care for
Corojo.
them.
Leaf by Oscar Corojo.
Oh.
Don't forget the man's last name. There are many Oscars in this world. None of them should be used lightly.
I never do. I never use an Oscar lightly. Okay, but before we dive directly into that, before we pour them, so today we're going to be trying the new whiskey, same cigars, and we're going to be going over a little bit of, kind of just talking about video game soundtracks. La música. Not la música.
La Moose.
La moose. We're talking about meese, which is the plural of moose.
I know a meese.
Who? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I also know that meese. Mm-hmm. She's annoying. Anyways. That actually worked. I was definitely expecting a failure. So no cork, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So
you had to have that sound instead.
Are we? So we're doing straight up room temperature.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And then after you watch me make a face and watch Sean talk about how much he loves it, we'll talk about video game soundtracks from the 80s and 90s. Because we have no lives.
Which means I'm not allowed to say I love it until he's made his face.
That definitely... What is this?
Indeed. What is this? Suntory Toki.
Oh, I would have much rather that than what they had in the movie.
Now, you may say, what is this?
What is this?
Not what. Why?
Why is this?
Why it's Suntory Whiskey?
Also, I want to talk about this really quick. This is the coolest thing ever. When you first take this little wrapping off, it just tears right there, which is pretty common. But it's like a fiber material, so that way when you pour and you get the little tiny drip, it's in the fiber. It's soaked right into it.
You know what it feels like to me?
Gauze.
No, not gauze. That fire-resistant party paper.
It's like gauze.
You take it and it's in a roll, and you staple it to the wall, and then you chuck it, and it goes. And you staple it to the other wall.
It goes like what? I remember now.
You know what I'm talking about. It's like rolls of party paper. They're like this wide, and usually you twist them so they're all swoo.
I have no clue what you're talking about. I've never seen anything be all swoo.
I'm gonna find rolls of party paper.
We are now Googling rolls of party paper.
Okay, Google. Rolls of party paper.
Here are some results from the web.
Those are rolls of party paper, and it's not what you're talking about.
This crap.
Look at that crap. Crepe paper? Who ties that to the wall and goes...
I mean, I guess some people just walk it to the other end of the wall. Because I have somebody stand at the other side, and I it to them. You don't do that?
No, not even once.
Not even once.
Crepe paper, not even once.
I don't want any of that Italian crepe paper.
I would go for a crepe right now, though. What are you doing after this? No, either. Anyways, I got hungry for food. You're hungry without it.
Hey, who's that loser band you have?
I hate them. They're backwards, aren't they?
No.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
This is my right arm. This is my left arm.
We're
I
looking
know
not,
the difference.
not into a mirror, but into a camera.
I hate you. But this is the band. All right, let's try this whiskey.
Okay.
Let's at least prep the cigars first.
Okay.
We've thought of all this stuff before we started. That's why we're so efficient.
Well, see, I figured we were to cut the cigars afterwards for the noise.
Let's do the noise. We can
Okay.
still do the noise.
Listen.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
Moist.
Same, though. 100% same.
As dry as that sounded, obviously I have to feel moist in comparison.
To be fair.
Or did you think I meant something else?
Did I name want something else? Moist in comparison?
I don't want anything else.
I did a great job.
You've done well, little adventure. Observe the vision.
Observe the vision.
You have done well, little adventurer. Observe the vision.
I'm gonna... So I'm willing to bet that no one who would ever hear this for any reason knows what in the world we're talking about. But that is from 4th grade adventures.
Third grade adventures.
3rd grade adventures. I didn't pass the 3rd grade.
Or the adventure. Okay, so I'm gonna have to say, that has to be an episode of childhood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be great if we just weren't very good at it?
That'd be awesome. We're gonna put this on the max difficulty because obviously we're smarter than 3rd graders. We can't beat the first
We
level,
can't beat
guys.
the first level. We are not smarter than a 3rd.
There aren't even any questions in the first level, and we don't know which direction to go.
We're just gonna cry until Mom shows up. Okay, whiskey.
Are you smarter than a refrigerator?
Have you seen some of these new smart fridges? Goodness gracious, no. They're
Okay.
way smarter than me.
This obviously smells of fecal turds.
Fecal turds.
Yes.
It really is not the best smelling cigar, but I love smoking this while drinking something. I really do. Mm-hmm. And yes, it does smell like garbage. Wow.
That smells...
That smells so sweet.
Yeah, it's really light like you'd expect Jameson to be.
It does. It smells very, very light. It smells very sweet. The bourbon is aggressive. The bourbon smell.
Yeah,
So
100% seems like like smelling it smells like ethanol.
yeah.
And then besides that, which nose works today? My left nose.
Same. It is my left nose. Twinsies.
It's almost like we're brothers.
It's almost like we're related.
Except that wouldn't have any bearing on...
I'm sorry for all the coughing
Nosing.
that I'm doing. I'm coughing so much.
I didn't notice.
Right in the mic. Good job.
Okay, so something smells like creamy and caramel, which would make sense because caramel is basically milk and sugar.
It's true. What's in this?
Whiskey.
Whiskey. I will say this is my favorite smelling whiskey
Mm-hmm.
I've ever just sat and sniffed, which I realized got really specific.
Well,
But if I hadn't touched on this before in the first episode, I don't get into whiskeys. I don't drink a lot of whiskeys, so all whiskeys are an experience to me. But this is my favorite smelling.
so he technically does drink a lot of whiskeys, just no straight whiskeys.
This is true.
He drinks heavily.
I drink
Is it cased? Is it cased if it's a whiskey, or is that just cigars and pipes that are cased?
I don't know. I'm gonna
Either
say
way.
no.
Either way,
Someone tell us we're idiots.
Whiskeys with lots of off flavors, we'll say. By off, I mean added.
So, one of my favorite places that my wife and I frequent are
Walmart.
We go to Walmart all the time. The distilleries and those types of places in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg that sell lots of moonshine. Also,
In Tennessee.
Tennessee. They also have lots of flavored whiskeys. And we always keep one or two of these bottles around our house. And right now, we're eventually going to bring one on the show. But one of them is a apple caramel whiskey. And yes, that sounds extremely blasphemous considering like how hardcore we're going and with just getting really good, neat whiskeys all the time. But to have one that it tastes exactly like a caramel apple doused in whiskey.
Okay, so this man...
The man who made these
like,
or me?
You.
Okay, me. I'm a man.
This man. Would you take the place of this man? No, this particular man, he is so... Like, you thought I was kind of into... Like, you thought, wow, Sean is so autistic. Like, he just started this business and he's now... Look at all the stuff he's purchased just for this, to have some kind of collection. This man is so... Nerves. Tyler, I'm getting on your nerves.
It hurts a lot. You are getting on my nerves, as it turns out. It was directly on top of one. Please continue your sentence.
But he is so into his flavored whiskeys
I like them.
that the man has gone out and purchased specific glassware designed to drink 2 flavored whiskeys at once.
Yeah. It's not that uncommon. It's just a split shot glass. I don't know why you're being so weird. Stop hating me. I enjoy my life. Jeez. All right, ready for another cool sound? Here it is. All right. Let's see what we think about these.
Okay.
Let's keep coughing.
Ooh.
Wow. That's fine.
That's good.
That's fine.
That's just fine. That's good.
Man, those
That
Japanese
is-
are onto something.
I'm going to take
that
another...
that burns the whole way down.
Mm-hmm. So... It's very rich in flavor.
It's true.
Has kind of a woody taste.
Yeah, I was almost going to say, I don't want to interrupt your analysis here, but this is such a weird thing to say out loud. It tastes similar to how the room smells after we've had a cigar and drank whiskey.
Not this cigar.
No, not that
This
one.
cigar
Good
makes the room
Lord.
smell bad.
But I mean, like, that atmosphere. Does that make sense? Because it does. It is kind of woody, but it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that aggressive bourbon barrel taste that you associate with whiskey. It's extremely light on that. Am I? Beautiful. So since
I'm
this
assuming
is, so
that...
I don't know if we got close enough, or if everyone knows what this is. This is a WHISKY whiskey.
Okay, so in
There
this
are some
particular
differences.
case, it doesn't mean anything necessarily.
But we were talking the other day about how this is made a little bit differently than what we've been trying so far.
Okay, so generally speaking, there are exceptions to this rule, but generally speaking, Irish whiskeys and American whiskeys are spelled WHISKEY, and Scottish whiskeys, traditionally Scottish whiskeys, but then also Canadian whiskeys, and actually I think all other whiskeys, with the exception of Irish and American whiskeys, are spelled just with a Y. But traditionally, from the, what is that? Uskabetha? Is that what that is?
Whiskey bacon?
Where the word whiskey comes from. It means water of life. And that became whiskey, and that was spelled this way. And then the Irish added an E to it just so it would be branded differently from Scottish whiskey. And then other places adopted X spelling for X reason, but most places use just the Y because that's the original. in this particular case, because of that, like that just means it's not all Irish and most American whiskey, but it is. I think in this particular case, it's spelled the way it is because, like, Japanese whiskey was spelled this way, but it just so happens that this particular, like, more modern Japanese whiskeys took ideas from Scottish whiskeys, if I remember correctly. And so while they would have already been spelled with a Y if they wrote them in English, would be... I need to stop bouncing because it's bouncing the camera. There we go. Why it would be that way, I think this is kind of meant to be like a Scotch. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's much lighter. Excuse me. So we've had the Four Roses on the show this whole time. Mm-hmm. It's much lighter in taste than the Four Roses. And what is really making me excited about it, and what I really like about it, is, like I just said, it doesn't have that aggressive bourbon barrel taste. And I get that that's the appeal of whiskey, and I get that's why so many people drink bourbon barrel beers. But I can't really jive with the bourbon barrel taste because it's too sweet.
Okay.
For me to really want to get behind them.
So I'm coming at this with just the opposite approach as you, and that is I'm taking this and I like it better than the Four Roses because I taste more barrel in this than I did in the Four Roses. The Four Roses was just corn sweet and some grain. I didn't taste any oak off, almost no oak off that at all.
So I'll rephrase. So yes, this tastes more like a barrel, but what I mean specifically is what you associate with the bourbon barrel taste.
Okay, I got none of that from the bourbon. The bourbon barrel taste is the most nasty, sour taste I've tasted in my life, and there was nothing nasty or sour in that Four Roses.
I don't think it was sour, but the type of, if you drink a lot of bourbon barrel beers, which I've had a ton of.
Okay, so I've had one bourbon barrel beer and then one bourbon barrel mead. Both of them had a very nasty sour taste. It was the same in both of them.
I'm okay with the bourbon barrel mead. That was okay.
That was horribly disgusting.
It does have a bit of a sour taste to it, but there's also some other things that go along with it. But some of the sweetness, it's still a recognizable sweetness. Mm-hmm. And for me, I thought there's none of that in this. That's all gone here. So I don't want to say this doesn't taste like it's been barreled. Not at all. What I do want to say, though, is I'm not getting any of the... It's not reminding me of that taste at all. Barrel, yes, 100%. You can almost... It's like licking wood. I love it.
Okay.
Tyler Mobley loves licking wood. You can take that to the bank.
So, in this particular... The thing... I don't know this about this. I haven't looked into it, studied it, or anything.
I barely looked at it.
But this being based on Scottish tradition, as I believe it is... They would have done a few things with it. One of them being they would have aged it in used barrels. And one big thing that they do in Scottish whiskey, and I'm going to go out on a limb and assume maybe they do that with this too, is actually most of the aging is actually done in bourbon barrels. It is weird they don't have any, like a lot of them are either aged in bourbon barrels, sherry barrels, or both. Just at different times, they start off with bourbon and or sherry, and then they switch to the other. And while this does not have any of the, you say sweet, I say sour, of the bourbon barrel taste, is not there at all. There's a good chance this actually was aged in a bourbon barrel.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I want to go ahead and clarify again. I don't know what I'm talking about at all. I just have a bunch of thoughts and no knowledge, real knowledge to back them up. Welcome to my everyday life. Let's do it again.
Okay.
So now we're prepped for what's about to happen.
Wait, do it over here.
Okay, ready? Mic it. It's a wonderful sound.
Yeah, that's just good. That's
fine. That's fine.
See, I'm not good at putting into words my opinions of tastes and or smells. I'm going to put into words my opinion of smells because being the weirdo that I am,
It's true.
Like smell is like is like connected to the same part of your brain that deals with memory, and I have a very good memory, and I have a crazy imagination. And so add those two things together, and like smells are just,
They're just
nice. I can't do the sound that he did though. That was a weird. He did it with his lips. Look at his lips.
I just kissed.
Nice.
Just two bros. Okay.
Okay.
I do a very good job of putting what I'm thinking into words, but the problem is I have terrible thoughts. I have no knowledge or memory to back up my thoughts that I'm having, but gosh darn, I can talk about them.
So, but in tasting that though, like I said,
like you said,
like I said, it did smell and taste very creamy and very very much like caramel. A lot of people will say it tastes like caramel, and those people are wrong. It tastes like caramel.
Those people probably have aluminium rims on their cars too.
Yeah, that's true. Fun fact: aluminum is more correct than aluminium.
Well, yeah.
But it was originally aluminum. And someone said that sounds really dumb. It's called aluminum. And add an N in there to make it not sound so dumb.
And the British were like, "What if we add 2?"
And then someone said, "But now it doesn't sound like the rest of the EM metals." And so they said, "Well, then add another I in there." And so it went from aluminum to so it was aluminum. Then aluminum was original, and then it became aluminum. And then a couple years later, they said, let's make a second acceptable one and make it aluminium.
And those people are terrible.
Mm-hmm. Terribly British.
On tarmac. Okay, so let's go ahead and roast these cigars up.
Okay.
Let's
not roast them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we don't roast these.
We've been over this.
Oh, yeah, we have been over this. Back to the me having a bad memory thing.
Alfred, we've been over this.
So we discovered last time that roasting these actually just it kills the room note right away. It's gross.
And the first bit tastes really, really burnt. So I'll just get right up in it. Right up in its butthole. Just read it.
It still has a very, very bitter first hit either way.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we've got some great sounds.
It's still disgusting.
It's rough.
It's an acquired taste that I have to acquire every time. Let's not get these again.
I agree.
Yeah.
So you want our actual review on these. So these are Leafs by Oscar
Corojo.
Mm-hmm. Don't buy them.
Yeah. They really don't taste bad, and they go good with whiskey. But
let's go ahead and make that statement. I shouldn't say don't buy them. That was hasty of me, and I apologize.
Yeah.
These are great with whiskey. But if you're someone who just wants to have a cigar, I would never reach for this just to have a cigar. Ever. But with a whiskey, sure.
Mm-hmm. And if you can get past the terrible initial taste, and the absolutely abysmal room note.
The room note is rough.
If you can get past those two things, then I say by all means make this your, cheap everyday go-to, because these are $3 a stick,
which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a real cigar,
mm-hmm.
that's so cheap. If you know you're gonna have friends over,
mm-hmm.
and like you guys want to have some whiskey and some cigars, holy cow, buy a pack of them. Knock yourself out. But like if I'm wanting to have a cigar, like I want to be up in my room and I just want to sit for half an hour and screw around with the computer and have a cigar, I would never reach for this.
Grab my other book, not the new book, but the old book.
Where's it at? Do you know?
It's on the table below the table.
This table?
Mm-hmm.
Can I reach it, or do I need to get up? I can't tell.
I don't know.
We're off to get our notes.
So I don't have to tell you. But you wouldn't have had to take your headphones off, though, Tyler.
I don't care.
It's really long.
I know my headphones are really long. They're my headphones. Are you sure it's here?
I'm fairly certain. Now I'm second guessing yourself.
We're off to find a book. And now we're running around. Dead booty.
It's not there in the slightest.
We're really, really good at preparing for things.
Oh, no. There it is. I'm just stupid.
Well,
There we go.
tell us something you don't know.
Okay. So get in there and find the first cigar page. The bookmark will probably be on one of the cigar pages.
So we do take notes after every single one of these sessions. We take a few moments to write down our thoughts on the whiskey and the cigars. We like to be thorough. All right. Friendly, Olivia.
Right there.
Okay.
Olivia Series G. That is my favorite cigar I've ever had.
Olivia Series G. Heavy body. Taste cacao. Black coffee. Dark stout. Retrohale. Grain alcohol. Pears. Dr. Pepper or beer. All right. Very good. All right. Never had this.
Okay.
Well, we're about to order. Well, I'm about to order some cigars as soon as we finish this for for next week, presumably.
Supposedly. We hope, maybe.
If anyone does happen to see this stream and wants to leave a comment on anything, tell us what we should be getting. I have one that I will be getting as a suggestion from a friend that I trust very highly in this realm. But I'm down with anything.
And by the way, we appreciate all suggestions. But if you suggest a cigar that's more than $10 a stick, we are very likely not to take your suggestion anytime soon.
So as of right now, we're mostly going for
Fairly budget options.
I don't want to say cheap. Budget's a good word because we're still getting actual cigars. And we're still getting quality whiskey, but nowhere near top shelf stuff, if we're being honest. I don't want to say nowhere near. I mean, Four Roses, this stuff here. Oh, I love that stuff.
We're getting all mid-shelf stuff.
Mid-shelf is where we're at right now.
Now,
because we're not. I mean, obviously, this is all. This is the beginning of what we're doing. This is all out of pocket currently.
yeah. Now, I will say this. Anyone who says, hey, Super Whiskey Bros, you...
Hi.
I about called you a very inappropriate for YouTube name.
What have I done? What have I done? I'm really sorry.
But, you got your nasty ash all over my table.
I got my nasty ass on this table.
Your nasty ash. But I will say this. Anyone who says, hey, Super Whiskey Bros, if you, we would really like you to get these cigars here that are $40 a stick. I'm going to say, well, thanks for the advice, bro. And that's probably going to be the end of it for the next little bit.
We're going to appreciate it. We're going to write it down. And one day we want to try it.
Yes. However, absolutely anyone who says, hey, Super Whiskey Bros, buy these cigars here that are $40 a stick. And then you say, and by the way, I really want you to try these cigars that are $40 a stick. So here's $80 plus tax. I guarantee you, the next time those cigars are available, you will see us with them.
We're beggars and we're choosers. Is that what you're saying? Right now we're going up. We will try anything, but we are staying. We are staying budget. So we're doing lots of. You always are because you're autistic. But I'm doing lots of research, trying to learn about the stuff, doing my best. I'm an idiot, but I do my best.
Yeah.
I try hard.
It's okay though because I put on the thing. You didn't see my changes to the to the thing here when I poop. Still says Instagram coming soon. Okay.
Instagram coming soon. Well,
I added it to this. I must not have added it to the live stream description.
What is it? Follow us on Instagram. This one is random. Now we're gonna say it's. Let's go ahead and put that in there.
There we go.
Which one's the smart brother?
The one running the Instagram.
Wait a minute, I'm running the Instagram. You're the smart brother. Anyways.
Well, it's like what one of us put on Twitter last night. No one knows who.
Who could it be? I'll give you a hint. I don't do Twitter.
Well, you gave away the secret there, Tyler. I'm just saying.
You just told everyone that I did Instagram. I'm sorry. It's the weekend. Hey, it's the Twitch Nest. I follow them.
Come on.
I am part of
I
the
have.
Discord.
Look at that. Why can't I switch to the?
Because you're on PC. It's a different. It's a
I
different spot.
I know, but I
No,
downloaded a thing that lets me switch.
I'm gonna go with it's not there anymore, Sean.
Yeah, it isn't. That's kind of stupid.
Shall I just read the tweet from my cellular device?
If you want.
What's happening? Thank you to the 2 people that just followed us on Instagram while we were having this podcast. I appreciate you. Let's go see that tweet. So while we're looking for this tweet to not have dead air, because I
Found
hate
it.
dead
Found
air.
it. I
Oh,
got
there
it.
we freaking go!
There you go.
So in regards to the video earlier today, I'm sure you're all wondering this, so I'll tell you. My wife is the super good looking one. But wait! Which brother am I? Which wife is the best looking? Mine, of course.
But now they all know whose wife is the best looking. Away.
Gosh darn it. Okay.
But you brought this on yourself.
So one of the Instagrams that comes up and is suggested to follow now that I'm following, other whiskey pages, other stuff from that Instagram account. The first one that pops up is the one called Bourbon and Booty.
Bourbon and booty.
It looks exactly like
yeah,
this.
I see bourbon
There's
and
butts.
I see booty.
There's just butts. Butts
Yeah.
and bourbon. Now, according to this person,
Don't worry, they're at least semi-clothed butts. YouTube appropriate.
they are semi-clothed buttocks. Before this day is up, I want to take a picture of our butts and send them to this guy with the whiskey.
Hold on, turn down the chrome volume because that was
Try
way
one more
too
time.
loud.
That
right?
was pretty loud.
Pause that. There we go. We gave away something we're doing. If you guys can guess what that was immediately, then
doesn't
you've
matter.
guessed. Good job.
Who gives a crap? Get a life. Gosh. All right. Well, so we've had. Let's go. Let's dive into the. Let's get another sip. A sippy sip. Now that we've had.
That is not even at all.
It's
is
not
it?
at all. It's pretty rough.
Touch that up.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna blame the cigar for that though, because I'm garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a touch it up while it's that far ashed out. Whatever.
Also, lick your finger and touch just below the low part. It'll make that bit burn a little. No, that's the high part.
Oh.
It'll make that part burn, a
Burn
little
slower.
Yeah.
Because it's wet.
Mm-hmm.
See, I learn stuff all the time. When you're dumb, you learn so many new things. It's a great life. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get another sip of this whiskey and let's jump into our topic for the day.
Okay.
And we've really burnt through the cigar, so.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time we learned our special word of the day.
It's a special word. You keep accidentally playing the soundtrack.
Why does that keep freaking play?
It wants you to hear it. It wants you to know. What is our special word of the day, Sean? I really
It's
don't know.
Tyler.
Tyler. I'm the special word of the day. I'm so excited.
Well, you certainly are special today. And
Every
every
day.
day. You're just so special, Tyler.
I really am. And we're not being offensive there because I'm special.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
God made you special, and He loves you very much.
Not by though. We're still doing
Yeah,
it.
we're still here.
Okay.
We're not going anywhere yet.
So we do a lot of stuff about gaming on here just because it's our shared interest.
What did you say?
I don't know what I said.
I think you said we are talking a considerable amount about gay men on here.
Gay men.
That's our shared interest. Homosexual fellows.
Yes.
Don't
Like
tell
they
the
said,
wives.
marriage is between a man and a woman, unless it's a gay marriage. So, then it's not. Okay. So, we talk a lot about video games in this stream because it's a shared interest we have. We grew up together. We started playing video games at a very young age. And we realized it's overdone a lot. So, we don't want to just sit here and just play a game all the time because that's just done so much and we want to be a little bit different. So
Even though we enjoy doing that.
we love it a lot, but we don't want to be the same thing that everyone else is doing. So today we really wanted to talk about some soundtracks from video games. And I think we're going to have a few episodes kind of talking about this because there's lots of different approaches and things to talk about. And we want to dive into each thing and we want to give it its own time.
Mm-hmm.
So in some later weeks we'll have a game that's a long-standing series, and we're going to talk about the soundtrack progression as it starts early and goes further on. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
So some series that would be great points of that would be Legend of Zelda series. It started back in the 80s. It's going up to a game that just came out, well, I guess last year. Or 2 years ago now.
17 or 18, I don't remember.
2017 to 2018. So it's a long-running series, obviously, 30 years. And the soundtrack obviously has progressed a ton. So that's one that we want to talk about as a progression.
30 years, good God.
I know, we're old. I'm almost 30. We want to talk about like the evolution of a soundtrack within its own game series. We want to talk about the evolution of soundtracks in general, how the industry has changed, and how everyone kind of approaches it. And then some composers who maybe kind of revolutionized soundtracks or just had one that was way ahead of its time. For today, though, we're just going to throw way back to the late 80s, early 90s. We realize that's not the beginning. That's kind of the beginning of where we started and what we were interested in. And we're going to go over some of these and kind of talk about some iconic soundtracks. So let's go ahead and pull one up. What are we doing first?
Well, I didn't pick them in any particular order, but it so happens that Final Fantasy 1 is up first.
So Final Fantasy 1, are you starting with the first? Airship is the first.
It's in alphabetical order. So, ooh, listen.
Battle thing. Ooh, it's a great sound, too. So, some of these games are almost memes in and of themselves of the sound effects that they had for picking up loot or defeating an enemy or beating a level. They have sound effects that we're really familiar with, and they're like in memes and everywhere because everyone recognizes them. So that's why we're picking some stuff that's really iconic in terms of the sounds that were used or maybe a track that's just really, really there. And just absolutely fantastic. I don't really necessarily want to listen to Airship first for Final Fantasy. Do we not have the main theme?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the main theme on here.
So you'll just have to find it. It's on here somewhere.
It's not... obviously, they're not called... this is before...
Main theme.
Is it actually titled Main Theme? Yep.
Alright, so... this volume is adjusted by Chrome.
So this is the main theme to Final Fantasy 1. So this is very iconic. I like it because it starts off very simply, and it kind of sounds like, starting an adventure, the start of something. So I love that the first game in the series has this very simple start out of a soundtrack. I guess we should probably very, very quickly touch on different systems and how they made their sounds. So, essentially, not to dive too far into this, but this is 8-bit sound.
Before we go too deeply into this, I just wanted to say that here's the difference between the two of us on this matter. I am a person who plays video games and listens to the music as such. He is a person who plays video games, listens to the music, and has a bachelor's degree in music production.
That's true. So I do kind of get into the soundtrack a little more than Sean does. So you'll hear me have a different opinion, or maybe talk a lot more. So earlier when Sean's talking a lot more about the whiskey and the cigars because he knows things, I'm probably gonna talk a lot more about the music. So the NES had a sound card that had the ability... We can go ahead and pause that, by the way. Or we can keep it playing in the background. Turn down a little tiny bit more. It had a sound card that had the ability to make 4 different voices. At the time, 5 different voices. Every other game system at the time had a card able to only make 3 voices. But the reason why every time you hear an NES game, they all kind of sound the same is the problem with the NES system is those 5 voices were locked. And that means 1 was a sample. Usually, like, if you're playing Mario, you heard, like, conga drums. Those were samples.
You had what?
Like, you heard, like, a
sample?
conga drum.
Conga drums,
just like a steel drum or something. So it's some of the sound effects in Mario. So you had one track that was just samples that were triggered. And you had another one that was sound effects. So, like, when you walk around your menu, it was still, like, part of the sampling, but it was on its own card. These other 2 voices were 2, like, sine waves, those square waves, and you had a triangle wave. So the triangle wave made your bass sound. So you heard there was doo-doo, and you heard da-da-da-da. It was 2 different voices. So you had the ability to make 2 square waves that's a lot of times actually had the same voice, but it was just so you could make melodies, or harmonies, I mean, because you couldn't play more than 1 voice at a time per channel. More than 1 sound at a time per voice. So the triangle wave would make your bass notes, and the square wave would make your kind of melody notes.
Real fast, I would make a comment on here.
Make a comment on here.
smoking this and drinking this, honestly, this does not make the whiskey
Any
taste
better.
bad at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make it taste bad. It does not make it taste better, though.
However, I do think that having this whiskey and this cigar at the same time, like, it makes the cigar taste like balls.
Yeah, and the cigar's getting worse. I'm not a fan of that. It's making the whiskey taste not a lot different, but definitely not better. So before we were drinking the Four Roses...
It didn't taste smoky before, it does now. But besides that, at least I say that. I say it didn't taste smoky. I've never had smoky whiskey before, so I don't know if it tasted smoky. But it didn't taste like what I would associate with smoky. What my mind thinks is smoky.
Fair.
And now it does taste like what my mind thinks is smoky.
Mm-hmm. I'll agree with that heartily, because that is... It makes the whiskey taste... It's still good, but I would say it's not as good as it was before the cigar.
Oh, hold on.
By the way, we will take a lot of breaks in our conversation to go back to the whiskey and the cigars, because this is mostly...
Grab that bottle of water. We need to swish and drink real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Because we need to do a test that I completely forgot to do.
I forgot mine was right there. We'll just check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, before we dive back into the music, let's do the swish. I have not eaten today, so a little bit of whiskey, a little bit of cigar. I'm feeling fine. Good Lord, I'm feeling fine.
Okay, so now I'm going to taste this to see if it's back to normal. It's pretty much back to normal. Close enough for the drip test.
Yes, back to normal. So tell everyone what you're doing, because we are trying to make this into
Adding
audio
3 drops of water.
People. 3, 2, 1. Penguin.
Adding 3 drops of water to the whiskey to see if it... Now, I'm looking at this. I don't see any oils rising to the top, so it may not change it much.
And this is such a clear whiskey anyways. You feel like you might not be able to see that.
You see the shimmering of the oils if it was there. And it didn't change it much. It makes it... It has a richer taste. It doesn't taste as ethanol-y, which I don't think 3 drops of water is enough to dilute it enough to get rid of the ethanol taste. So it must just be... I must be tasting some oils in there.
So it must be mine.
It tastes very... I don't know. It tastes like it should be a dessert. But not like an overly sweet dessert. It just has that... You know, I just had a good meal. What should I have with my ice cream?
Suntory.
This.
Suntory, but please.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'll have Suntory and ice cream.
This is fantastic whiskey.
You want some ice cream?
Yeah.
You want to get some ice cream out of the freezer, or do you want to do that later?
No,
or
let's
just
do
not
it
at all?
later.
Okay. I was gonna say
That got exciting. Yeah. Another solid endorsement for me every single time. Every little test we've done with this Suntory is amazing.
good.
Jump right back into the topic real quick.
worth every bit of the what, $35 we paid for it.
Something like that. That was on sale though. Let's go and say this is a $40 bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Shelf price, this is $40. Mid shelf, still good stuff. Okay, so the NES system had 5 voices, but they were locked voices, so a lot of the sounds sound the same. If you think about all the games made, 86, 87, 88, they all sound like they're using the same voice almost. You'll hear that when we switch to some other games. But other systems had 3 voices, but these all had the ability to switch around, which means one could be a square wave or a triangle wave, and so on and so forth, or a sampler, and they could all fire independently. So even though these other systems had fewer voices, technically, they were more advanced. So it doesn't really matter. It's just a fun anecdote to think about when we're talking about 8-bit soundtracks, which is what we're currently listening to.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. I listened around to these, and turn it back up to a more audible level. So there's the menu sound, the overworld theme. There's something to this music. It's let me get back to the...
While you're looking for
dungeon
it, but you can
room.
now hear what I'm talking about.
Dungeon
You're like,
sound effect.
that's your triangle wave, which is your third voice. And that's your first and second voice. Probably just
Okay.
using one at a time. But that's your first voice causing a square wave. And that kind of in the background, that's a triangle wave. We're not going to dive into synthesizers and nonsense like that, because that's boring. But that is what you're hearing, what I was just talking about.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate it when I hear things.
I just went deaf in my right ear.
happens to me a lot.
But anyways, and then they have like the dungeon music. Like, there's something to this music. They fixed it, I think, and they just made it sound this way in combat in later entries. But listening through the soundtrack, I don't know, the music as a whole, not all of them, the main theme, not so much, the overworld theme, not as bad as some of the others, but it's just, this music has such a strong, I guess, sense of urgency to it.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
Game, where are you trying to get? Like, where are you going? Where's the fire?
Where's the fire?
I mean, that's...
So, I'm behind that. So, okay, I'm gonna. Well, I'll be boring again. So, when you're learning about composition at a wherever you're learning, whether you're reading a book or you're in school or whatever, when you're learning about composition, you're given these types of things as example. Like, it's the most stripped down thing you can think of, and it's still managing to drive an emotion in you. When you did, one of the things I had to do for one of my projects in school was you had to make 3 different 8-bit soundtracks using 2 or 3 voices, and you had to make like what was called a menu music, a walking around town music, and battle music. And it really lets you know, or it helps you understand, I should say, how you're getting a sense of urgency from battle music, how you're getting a sense of ambience from your walk around town music, and how you're getting a sense of, like, you have a theme and a nice slow driven purpose from having your menu music. And Final Fantasy, the reason why I want to talk about this one is they do all 3 of those so well. The battle music makes you feel urgent. It gives you a little bit of anxiety, like that feeling like right here in the middle of your chest. Tenses up just a little bit to make you more interested in what's going on. A good soundtrack will give you all those feelings, even at its simplest form. And I'm obsessed with the Final Fantasy soundtrack because it's flawless in that aspect.
And that is true. I don't know. I don't associate a sense of urgency with exploring a dungeon, which is that what the music was in dungeon music. And kind of because of that, I don't... Like, to me...
Finish your statement, then I'll prove you wrong. Go ahead.
What?
Finish your statement, I'll tell you what you're wrong. In this particular case, but continue.
Now, immersion, to me, like, just because something can evoke emotion, if it's what I feel is the wrong emotion, then it's not immersive to me. So it's like, wow, I have to quickly get through this dungeon. No, I want to explore, but I have to quickly get through this dungeon.
And here's why I'm going to tell you you're wrong in this particular case. Final Fantasy, how did you encounter enemies? Did you see them?
Well, no.
Exactly. They popped up randomly.
Yeah.
It was stressful. It was anxiety-inducing. See what I mean?
No.
You didn't see an enemy. You're walking around, and all of a sudden it's like, encounter! Then all of a sudden you're encountering someone, and you've got your RPG turn-based encounter. So because of that, they were trying to make you anxious and trying to make you feel that sense of urgency because you never knew when you were about to get attacked. And it was always like a every single time it happened.
That's why I liked the that's why I liked how Pokemon did their music, because
It's the same thing though.
No, it wasn't, because
Same feeling, not the same music. You're
yeah,
right. Same
it's
feel.
that same anxiety feeling, but with this, it's like, I need to hurry up and get out of this dungeon because I have this going on and I might find an enemy in a minute. With Pokemon, it's like, let's have nice town music and then super fast enemy.
Only if you're in town though. If you go in certain levels, the music was very anxiety-inducing.
Yeah, and I didn't like those bits.
Oh, okay. Well, you have an opinion, and that's okay.
Remember,
Opinions?
everyone has a right to an opinion, but not every opinion is right.
Oh, there you go. Let's switch soundtracks. So another one that I want to talk about is... the next one we're going to talk about is Streets of Rage. No, let's not do Streets of Rage yet. Let's do Castlevania next. Because Streets of Rage is a jump by a couple years, and the soundtrack, because of that, changes quite a lot. Because Streets of Rage will be a jump to 16-bit sound.
Also Sega Genesis.
Also Sega Genesis, which was a 16-bit system when this came out. So with this Streets of Rage we're going to do next, because Streets of Rage was a jump to the 16-bit. So Castlevania.
Now, this is not a playlist. It's the full soundtrack on one bit.
We don't need to do too much of this because Castlevania is a very different game. Castlevania was that side-scroller style action.
Now, here's something interesting.
But I want to go and point out this point I made earlier. You You see what I mean about sounding almost the exact same? The voice is almost identical. You still have that one triangle do, 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 do,
Now,
and you still have that square wave making your melody line.
now I want to go to this because let me add a window capture here. We'll make it.
This is hilarious. Look what I've done. I didn't know it would work that well.
Okay, so we're gonna. Okay, so I'm actually gonna move this over just for a second because I want to switch scenes for just a second so they can see this. On this, yes, I'm doing it on YouTube. I'm doing it on YouTube TV because that way I can do it through my phone too. But I like this setup because since there's no individual tracks for the musics, they highlight the area.
Yeah,
the map of the game. They highlight the area where the music.
Yeah, whoever put this together, by the way, you're a genius. Who is this? Whose channel is this? Let's
This
shout them out.
is
They're killing it.
Zelda Fan 3D 20.
Nope.
No, that's next. Yeah, that's what's next. This is JP Hands,
JP Hand, you are a master. I love you.
a gentleman and a scholar.
Unless you're a girl, then you're still a gentleman and a scholar, and I love you. Okay. You're still a fantastic person, whoever you are.
You might be a girl, but you're still a fantastic person.
Wow.
That's what you said.
Wow. That's what
You said unless you're a girl and you're still a fantastic person.
You can still be a gentleman and a scholar. Everyone's a gentleman and a scholar, just like everyone's a dude.
Not everyone's a gentleman and a scholar.
That's true, but everyone is a dude.
Everyone can be a gentleman and a scholar.
I don't know where we're going with this. Just go ahead and play. All right, so we've heard a little bit of Castlevania. You heard how it's very, very similar. The voices are similar. All that kind of stuff. No, what we need to do start from the very beginning for Streets of Rage.
This is okay.
That ending is not the beginning.
Yeah, we'll go to stage 1 then. That'd be the very beginning.
That'll be good enough. We don't need to do character selection because it's similar. Okay, so this is Streets of Rage. We have jumped 6 years, 4 years.
From Castlevania. Okay, so
5 years from Castlevania.
5 years from Castlevania, 4 years from Final Fantasy.
Now this is this is important to note. We've jumped from the original NES to the Sega Genesis original system. This is the jump from 8-bit to 16-bit. So the music has a lot more going on, more options with the voices, and the voices are much more advanced. Go ahead.
Now, the thing with this one is, I'm going to go ahead and say this. This music is not intended to provoke any emotion. This is just there as a background. Because I can tell you that because the Streets of Rage music is honestly nothing but 16-bit versions of 90s hip-hop.
We have a lot more advanced sound. A lot more advanced sound.
It's just street music is what it is.
It's true.
It's good, but
if you've ever played Streets of Rage, if you haven't, Streets of Rage is a classic side-scroll beat 'em up.
it's the classic side-scroll beat 'em up.
It's true. It is the. You can forget about Battle Axe. You can forget about all of Golden Axe.
Battle Axe.
You can forget about Golden Axe. Streets of Rage is the OG side-scroll beat 'em up. Fight me.
It's like Golden Axe came first.
I don't give a crap.
Yeah. Golden Axe, and I guess some people might say that the original good one was Double Dragon.
They're wrong. Double Dragon was fine, and it was so inferior to Streets of Rage. It didn't come out years before, so it doesn't matter. If it came out 10 years before, I'd give it a title. It didn't, so I won't. Streets of Rage, the OG, fight me.
I think Golden Axe was the original Golden Axe was like 88.
Here we are.
Still 8-bit.
Still 8-bit. Here we are. This soundtrack is phenomenal for what it is. Now, but the reason why we played Streets of Rage, besides being phenomenal, is hear a little bit of that for a second. I love that change. I can hear it. Well done. Absolutely well done. So, thank you, Yuzo Koshiro. So, we're going to jump to Streets of Rage 2 real quick, because it only came out, was it next year or 2 years later?
It's 2 on this list.
It'll be quick.
Streets of Rage 2 was the next year, 1992.
Yeah.
We'll just throw that on here real quick.
Yeah. So the reason why I want to play Streets of Rage 2 is I don't want to start. I told you I mentioned earlier we're going to start talking about games that evolve through a series, and I don't necessarily want to start doing that right now.
Streets of 5. No.
Wait, Streets of Rage 5? I never played that. Oh, wait,
Oh.
here, OST. So, excuse me.
Unless
I don't want to
see
dive
that anymore. Let's not see them.
We don't want to
watch and
dive
search
into
here.
that. We don't want to dive into a whole game series of music.
Okay.
But we are going to play the intro to this. Go Straight 1 is hilarious.
I'm assuming that's the...
Go back, by the way.
Go back?
Go back, a whole page.
Okay.
Click on the other... That one, because it'll
This
start
one?
from the beginning like a different board. Listen to this intro. This is how you do a sequel, soundtrack-wise. It's very, like, I want to say, it's kind of got that Metro Tokyo kind of sound to it. It's exactly the way you do a sequel. Oh my goodness, it's flawless. And go ahead and jump to the first, and just jump ahead a little bit, brother. Skip ahead a bit, brother. Select character. We'll go to Go Straight.
Go straight.
They said it wrong. Still Metro Tokyo, Super Metro, a little bit of Tokyo. And just wait for it to kick in. Like Sean said earlier, street hip hop with 16-bit sound. 100%, but just done better. Streets of Rage 2 is one of the greatest video game soundtracks of all time. Fight me. Man, I want to play this game now.
I have a Genesis emulator on here. We could make that one of our games sometime.
Oh, but this is phenomenal. This is how you do a sequel. Not a series, we're not talking about series. This is how you do a sequel to a game. Wonderful. You go ahead and pause that. Absolutely phenomenal. So you can hear there like lots of sampling, lots of changes in voices, and more options for voices. Because with 16-bit, you now have the option to go with, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, 8 voices? Because the sound cards are now more advanced. Because at this point, you officially have a sound card. You could literally plug a keyboard into the sound card and plug speakers into the sound card, and you created an instrument. So at this point, we now have a slightly more advanced sound card.
Now, for the next, I don't know when you want to move on to the next one, but my next one that I had set up is I find this really good because this shows 2 things.
3 things, sir.
This shows, like, for one thing, it's just the genius of the people who made it. This was John Romero and John Cormack who made this game, and I think they were the only 2 guys working on it. So that means they also made the music.
Okay.
And John Romero and John Cormack and how just genius these guys were for making everything.
It's a true story. Absolutely true story.
And they
Google these guys if you don't know who we're talking about.
And they took what they had. They always did this. They took what they had and made something so much better than what anyone else had ever done with that same stuff. And consistently. And so, this was for Microsoft disk operating system, and so therefore it was they had superior stuff to work with than any consoles that were out on the market.
I hate being PC Master Race, but this is the absolute truth.
Yeah. Now, Microsoft, it's still not Windows. Microsoft disk operating system is objectively inferior to most of today's consoles. I'll say that.
Yes.
But
by a little bit.
Yeah. But it was better than any consoles on the market at the time. And and also they had this genius thing called 16-bit Sound Blaster. Which you didn't find in a console, as far as I know.
Not in this time frame.
Screw you, music.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what game you're about to show right now.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear it because this is great for me.
And they did so.
I'm going to look away. I don't want to know what you're doing. I'm going to look away and I want to be surprised.
Okay. And they did so good.
Oh, yes.
And this is just that's the overworld thing. Why don't you go to the beginning of the queue? I don't want to go to the beginning of the queue.
Now, it's worth mentioning, this is a big jump up in the series that we're listening to.
Yeah. But this is still 1991.
Yeah.
December 1991, same year as the Streets of Rage.
This is the fourth installment of a game series called Commander Keen. Great game. So the same year as these other games, or same year as Streets of Rage.
Now, so this is oh poop. Okay, good. It actually did it this time. Now, this is it is the 4th game in a series, but there wasn't a 3rd. I mean, I don't know of a third, but I don't remember there being a third. But so what it was they had 2 series. I forget what the first series was called. Oh, screw you, really.
While Sean's doing this, I want to go ahead and point out the biggest difference you're hearing.
Oh, that's what I wanted.
So even though this is 1991, and you could argue that if you just listen to Streets of Rage, the soundtrack sounded, I think it sounded more intense or more developed. You're wrong. Even though you're hearing fewer voices here, what it's important to know about the 16-bit Sound Blast, you can hear, if you're listening closely, you can hear the higher quality in the waves they're using. When you hear those triangle bass notes, you can hear them decay into like that bell tone. They actually have a full decay. It's not a sample. That's an actual synth note. But it's got a decay and a release to it. Not all the other ones had that. It was just triangle and we're done. This has a full-on sound. It's wonderful. This is a huge jump in synth sound for the soundtrack.
This is probably, with the exception of the overworld theme, as far as in-level themes go, Welcome to a Kick in the Pants in Good Old Hillville is the
best soundtrack ever. The best music ever for a game.
Yeah, it is. It's the most used, as far as I can tell, in this game. Which, by the way, I'll say, this is the 4th installment in the game, but it's the 2nd series. The game was divided into. It was supposed to be 2 trilogies. I forget what the first 3 were called. Then you have the second trilogy games, supposed to be games 4, 5, and 6. It wound up being games 4 and 5. And 6 became a standalone game. But this was Commander Keen Goodbye Galaxy. Episode 4 was The Secret of the Oracle, which is the one that most people played if they didn't have the full version, because this was the shareware half of shareware section of Goodbye Galaxy. The second one is the Armageddon Machine, which was, I bet you haven't played it.
I haven't played it.
It's just what you'd expect, just more levels, and then you have and the music is different in Armageddon Machine, but I didn't pick it on there because you wouldn't have known it because you haven't played it.
It's true.
And then the game that was supposed to be the 3rd episode of, and it was actually, if you see the shareware screen for the first bit of Goodbye Galaxy, it's advertised as the finale of the trilogy, but then it was changed and released as a standalone game, Commander Keen in Aliens Ate My Babysitter. But, I mean, let me go back to the beginning.
Now again, because I'm pointing out all the nuances, listen a little here. So when I say decay, it's where you hear the note, the synth sound, turn into something else slowly. Not drastically. You hear that it go down, but you hear it change. Those little clicks that's making essentially a drum, those are samples. It's the same sound over and over again. It's kind of how you made that. If you ever listen to the soundtrack for Blade, it's all those kind of like that mid-2000s goth industrial noise is almost all drum samples. Same concept here, lower quality, but it's the same thing. There were no real people playing drums in the 2000s. It's the same concept. Lots of samples.
There are no real people playing drums today. Let's be real.
There's 2.
On stage, that's about it. And then not always.
Wonderful.
Also, the one thing I love the most about these soundtracks, though, is turned up a little bit. The thing that I love
it's decaying.
The thing that I love about this is they give the music a title, and they give it a title because that's what they feel the words that go along with the tune should be. Even though this is called Welcome to a Kick in the Pants in Good Old Hillville, there was a level called Hillville, and that was the first level you heard this in. But I'm going to go back and hold this here. So it's called Welcome to a Kick in the Pants in Good Old Hillville. It goes, Welcome to a Kick in the Pants in Good Old Hillville. And then, like, for the next one, Oasis, here you go. This one is You've Got to Eat Your Vegetables, okay? Then the next one is Listen for the words You've Got to Eat Your Vegetables. Listen. It's the higher notes here in a second.
I've never noticed that. Hold on. You've got to eat your to both. Oh, that is so funny.
You know, I said John Romero and John Cormack were the two best humans ever. I mean, that's
How are you so much better at smoking cigars than me? Mine's so uneven. Let's turn this back down. That's so good. Let's go ahead and pause that so we don't have anything going on in the background. I don't want it to be a constant thing. So, yeah, so that's the main thing, the point that we wanted to get across for our first episode talking about soundtracks. So it's a good preface because next time we're going to move on to... I think we might as well just make a jump because we're not trying to become a channel about soundtracks. We should probably... Next week we're probably going to make a jump all the way into, say, the 2000s.
Okay, so in that case...
Yeah, play some more stuff from the later 90s.
Well, I had something from
I'll give you a reach around there real quick.
I had something from 1994.
Okay.
That I didn't know when this was going to be put into place here. And so because of that, we're just going to add this to the queue here.
And also, while you're doing this, is there any way that we can, for the sake of these people who uploaded these soundtracks, which are absolute G's, is there any way that we can get those links in the description for this pretty easily?
It would be hard to do in the stream, but when I upload when I upload the VOD, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. This gives some recognition where recognition is due.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so we'll get in here, and now that I've added these to this, Too Hot. This is my. I like this better than Welcome to the Picking Pins of Ville. I love Too Hot.
I don't like it because I associate with the level that it's in. I had a hard time.
It's like 100 levels.
I mean, yeah, but every time I hear it,
Yeah.
I was not good at Commander Keen.
Oh, speaking of every time you hear it, you die. Here you go. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Now that was just a sound clip, by the way. That's just the when you die.
Okay.
For those listening that don't.
By the way, don't be looking, because you don't want to look, because I want you to recognize this is one step up in Sound Blaster. This might be 32-bit.
Okay.
But the early stages of 32-bit, 1994, and it's such a jump. And this is released by the same. Okay, this is published by the same company that published Goodbye Galaxy, but it was not made by the guys at id.
Okay.
So it was not made by id, but it was published by the same publisher.
Okay. So this is, in Sean... I haven't looked yet. This is, in Sean's opinion, one of the greatest games of all time. And I don't disagree with him necessarily. Sean is the self-proclaimed greatest Raptor player of all time.
Yeah. I have no proof of that because I've never gone head-to-head with anyone. But, I mean, I've never met anyone better.
So this is a game called Raptor Call of the Shadows specifically.
Raptor Call of the Shadows.
Raptor was the series.
Okay, as far as I know, there's just one game in Raptor Call of the Shadows. But
I thought for sure there was another one you played.
Well, the reason why it's called Raptors because you're in an F-22 Raptor.
Correct, but I mean, I thought there was multiple games I've seen you play.
I've never seen... No. You see me play...
The real versions of
yeah.
the shareware. Yeah.
Now, I played some, bootleg... I thought it was the full version. I played some kind of, bootleg version of it. Or some weird thing of it. It still had the shareware message and everything. But this freaking game had, lizards running across the levels and stuff.
I remember you talking...
It was weird. And cows that would shoot at you. And by the way, the cows that would shoot at you are mentioned on the shareware screen, but when you get the full version of the game, the cows are not in it.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and point out for when we're going to have these uploaded as just sound files to podcast sites. Raptor Call of the Shadows is a it's a very
there's no visual in this anyway though.
Perfect.
It's just
okay. So
Raptor
Call of the Shadows is obviously not the first version of, but it's like a tame version of Bullet Hell. It's not straight bullet hell because there's not enough bullets.
It's a vert-scrolling arcade shooter.
It's it wants some of the levels make it want to be bullet hell. Bosses are bullet hells.
Yeah, it kind of predates most bullet hells.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Man, I thought there was some OG bullet hells.
There are most bullet hells weren't really popularized in the U.S. before Raptor came out.
For people who have a video, by the way, we're going to jump back to the cigars and whiskey real quick. For those of you who are watching this, Sean will randomly make references to the way that him and I smoke. So we're going to hold our cigars next week. We start at the exact same time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I smoke so much faster and get through the cigar so much quicker. I guess I have a big mouth.
I was going to say I like to enjoy my cigar, but that can't be the thing because I'm not really enjoying this one.
That's not it because I hate it. All right, any other soundtracks we want to talk about from the 90s? We'll jump right into the 2000s specifically. We got to play, the best, the original, you know what I mean by original, don't be a jerk. Mm-hmm. The original best FPS shooter.
The original best FPS shooter.
The original best. Not the very first one ever. From the 90s.
Okay, so you said the original best FPS shooter. My thought...
I'm being a little bit sarcastic, so you're going to hit it when you
what was the first, like... another game from 93, 94. Mm-hmm. And the game that made first-person shooters... First-person shooters, yeah. So we're going back to id. Mm-hmm. And... we're not going with their first FPS, Wolfenstein 3D, even though that was amazing.
And a great soundtrack, by the way.
Yes.
Because we're talking about soundtracks.
I think you're going for...
And you're right. We always think of the same thing all the time.
It is 93.
Now, while we pause this before it plays. Mm-hmm. So I am still working on, because I completely forgot about it, I'll just be honest. We started doing this and it got over my other projects. One of the things I am working on is making Sean... a cover of this that many people have done a metal cover of.
But he's doing a good metal cover of this.
I hope it's good. Mm. It's also going to be tuned way down to what the new soundtrack is. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and play it. I think anyone who's a soundtrack fan will know what this is because
anyone who's a game fan will already know what we're talking about.
Anyone who's a game fan already knows what we're talking about. Anyone who's a soundtrack fan that doesn't play games, because I know a lot of I'm in a lot of vinyl soundtrack groups, mm-hmm. and everyone has this.
Okay.
So just go ahead and play it. It's the classic.
Starting with the menu music.
Which is fine.
Yeah, let's...
How long does the music last? Perfect. Good lord.
Again, 1993, id Software. Robert Prince is the composer. The guys at id are just... they know what to do with what they have. They're so amazing.
So if you have a guess, it's you. Mm-hmm. So, this is still a synthesizer, but they were like, we want metal, we want rock, we want to sound like a guitar, and drums, and bass. So you might hear boom, 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 that's still a triangle wave, the other sound is still a square wave, and the drums are still samples. Mm-hmm. But this sounds like a rock track.
Yeah.
And they killed it.
They
sound
so good. Now, they sound so much like rock tracks that some of them actually are. And they got in trouble for it.
Some of these are ripped off.
Not this one though. This one's a brilliant, beautiful original. Probably the most recognizable video game soundtrack. No, the most identifiable. Like the most recognizable one is Final Fantasy 2 or 3, the start of Final Fantasy 2 or 3, the victory theme.
Oh my goodness, play it. Well, there was Doom. We just want to point it out. We're really quickly before we wrap this up, we're just trying to hit on some other stuff from the 90s. Now that we've talked about the 90s and gone in depth about the late 80s, early 90s, and why we think they were special and what made them special, we're going to really quickly hit over the best little moments of soundtracks. And
Final Fantasy victory fanfare.
Here it is. Well, this is from 7.
Doesn't matter. It stayed the same through all Final Fantasy after they first introduced it.
So good.
Except for this one is not. They did it differently for 7.
They did change this part.
But it's like the original.
And sometimes swords and shields.
Which actually that's different. This is the victory fanfare, and the happened much later, like during the much later bits. My favorite Easter egg in any game ever is, well, I say that. My favorite Easter egg in any game ever is in The Witcher 2. When you're walking around an area, you see a bale of hay and a dead assassin laying right next to it. That's my favorite Easter egg in any game ever.
We're not even going to explain that to you. We're not going to explain that to everybody.
They know what it means.
They better know what it means.
Yeah. But my favorite Easter egg in any game ever is in Final Fantasy 15. Every so often, what's the main guy you play as, the prince? What's his name? You played 15 a lot more than I have.
I beat the crap out of 15, but I'm terrible with names.
Either way, the main of the 3 or 4 main characters, the main one.
By the way, phenomenal character development. They actually really pulled off character development in 15 really well.
I need to get back into it. I actually uninstalled it from my PC.
Oh, go play it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
But yeah,
Really
I uninstalled
great.
that, but for some reason I still have GTA 5
I know it's so
installed.
lame to just say, it's really good. Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But
It's not lame, it's just everyone agrees with you.
But wow.
Yeah, but my favorite Easter egg is every so often, like when after you beat someone and then you'll be running away after the encounter, the main guy goes, da, 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 da.
It's wonderful. But yeah, Final Fantasy 15. Go play it if you haven't, you tool. It's so good.
You fool.
You fool of a tool. Anyway.
Tool of a fool.
Tool of a...
You're
Anyway.
also a tool of a fook. You are also a kook. Who is that guy? What's that guy's name?
I don't remember. Now we're really rambling.
Yeah, sorry. His name's like something.
You're right. I
Yeah.
bet you're right.
He has a name. Okay, so if we're jumping to the 2000s later,
Now we're really rambling like a podcast.
we need to add one more thing in here.
Okay. I once again don't know what you're doing, and I'm
You
not going
keep
to look.
looking then.
No, I don't want to look. I want to keep not looking. I love getting surprised by soundtracks. It's one of my favorite things in life. I don't know why it says that, but it's real.
Okay, so we're just gonna play this here.
Now, is this I am going to look now because I looked by accident. Now, this
1998.
Is 1998. Ha, I got it right.
Turn it up.
This is. What do I tell everybody? This is King's Quest 8.
The Mask of Eternity,
We've
1998.
talked about already in a different podcast. Now, this is what happens when you make it to the end of the 90s and you're on PC.
And you're on PC, and you're whoever the composer is for Roberta freaking Williams.
Roberta freaking Williams. Put some respect on that name. I don't know who the composer for King's Quest 8 was.
I don't know.
But holy cow, the soundtrack for this game is flawless too.
And this fellow, Fantasy 5001, I like the images he's putting with this.
I'm about this.
It goes well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch over here.
Put some respect on that name
Yeah,
too.
so this guy, he's doing a good job.
Put that on full screen. What are you doing? Now the gate has been unlatched. Before I can finish.
So anyone who hasn't played this game, this is the music for the level, The Dimension of Death.
Which, by the way, this is just walking around, by the way.
Yeah, it sounds a lot edgier than what it is.
It does, but I mean, it's for good reason, because when you come across enemies, it's spooky. Also, I love that. This is wonderful. But we're going to go back and talk about how amazing the guy editing this video is. Thank you for switching the scenes every time there's like a big nice drum hit. It's very impactful. You're a bro.
And you don't know what's even cooler about this guy doing this like this?
That a lot of these are just Google image searches.
No, what's really cool about him doing this, him doing the switch like that, is it is...
What a bro. What an absolute bro. And again, I don't care if you're a girl or a guy. You're a bro. What a bro. So this is, again, still in the 90s. It's the end of the 90s, but like this is just a few years after the games that we've been showing you the soundtracks of. And this is a huge jump.
This is the very next level, the swamp. Also, whoever made this soundtrack, I didn't pay attention to this. Most of these are in... No, okay, it doesn't have the whole soundtrack. But the ones he does have are, with the exception of the main theme, it has them mostly in order. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and then he stopped at Level 3.
Oh.
But he has them in order.
Come back and finish the life. This is the Swamp Medley. So this is worth mentioning, too, the difference... when you're playing all these OG games, the soundtrack is just playing.
Yeah. It doesn't... Okay, so for some of these games, none of the ones we showed, except for maybe Final Fantasy, if you encounter an enemy, I think Final Fantasy, when you encounter, because the encounters are different, you move to the encounter screen.
It jumps to a completely different screen, a different thing entirely, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, so that doesn't count. But like for all these, the soundtrack does not change when you encounter an enemy. But for some reason, in this game in particular, the way that they may change something so small that you don't notice it. But when you encounter an enemy, this music that is just good, nice, immersive, listen to this music, all of a sudden like the urgent stressfulness that is always there in Final Fantasy. And that I don't like in that. For some reason, this does not seem urgent, it does not seem stressful until you see an enemy, then you realize the music is driving you absolutely crazy in a good way.
Yeah. And another thing, too, this is the start of, I don't want to say it's the start of, because in 1998, we've been doing this a little bit. You are now getting environmental triggers to your music. Mm-hmm. And by that, I mean, and this is a very obvious thing when you think about modern gaming, if you go somewhere else, the screen doesn't change, nothing's really different, but it has triggered a separate sound. And I mean a sound effect. It could be a different part of the soundtrack. It's in addition to the actual soundtrack that's happening. Mm-hmm. So you actually are now getting, in those other games like we were showing Commander Keen or Doom, if you run to a different room of enemies, the soundtrack doesn't change. It keeps going. But in this game, you're going to get something added to the soundtrack. We're not far away from getting to where, even though nothing changes, encounters change your soundtrack. Mm-hmm. So you're walking around with the music of the realm or whatever area you're in, then an encounter will trigger a different sound effect, and then that will go away and come back to a slightly usually more peaceful sound. We haven't gotten there yet, but we are now getting to where different things will now trigger different things. Or we're getting into environmental triggers that don't...
Actually, King's Quest 8 does have, you go to a different area of the level, you have different music.
No, that's not what I was saying.
I was like, because the Song of the Sylph, like as soon as you cross the threshold into where the Sylph is, in the Dimension of Death, the one that plays this music, yeah,
let's get a good. Go up another minute. I'm serious.
This right here. They're playing this music as soon as you cross the threshold into where the Sylph of Inner Beauty is. I mean, like, it's a huge area, and just like that, you cross the area, and this starts up.
And then if you walk right outside of that area,
it goes right back to the
Dead City. Which is really weird, but beautiful.
There's an old hymn. I need to get into this, because there's an old hymn that I keep thinking this sounds like. I gotta get to the part where it sounds like that.
This is so
And let's mention that I'm pretty sure a lot of these are actual instrument sounds.
Yes, now I want to go ahead and say that you're wrong.
Okay.
But you're close to being right.
Mm-hmm. I don't mean they recorded it. Like here's a microphone.
Okay. Yes. So essentially, the difference now is we're no longer using a voice that is essentially being. That was loud. Mm-hmm. Essentially, just triggering a synth. We are now using MIDI instruments. Mm-hmm. And I grant, yes, a synth inside of a computer is usually a MIDI instrument. Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you are now using sample trigger devices with the keyboards where you're playing a violin or you're playing a piano or you're playing a drum. A violin, a viola, a cello, whatever it happens to be. You are now you actually have a full soundtrack that's coming across one audio channel. Mm-hmm. It is not, here's your bass, here's this, here's this, here's this. It is now, here's one audio channel playing this gorgeous piece of music that was pre-recorded. Not a bunch of triggers. Like, you can actually watch, if you watch the old way that it happens, you can see the different 4 voices, and there's a command under each voice, and as it goes in time, it's a vertical time change, and as it hits each thing, it will trigger the triangle wave or the square wave. This is not that. This is one voice with a pre-recorded soundtrack piece on it.
Okay. So,
I love queso.
Here's the question though.
Okay.
Not to play, but to listen to. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite stringed instrument?
To listen to?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really lame. I'm always going to be the violin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's gorgeous.
So
super basic.
My answer is you on the largest of steroids. My favorite stringed instrument to listen to is the double bass with a French bow.
A French bow specifically.
Yes. Well, I say with a French bow because I've never seen someone play a double bass with a bow other than a French style bow. But I'm saying sometimes the double bass is plucked. I don't like the plucking of a double bass.
I don't want to plug myself here because I hate plugging myself and I think it's cheesy. So when
I'll plug you.
Oh baby, we are interested in the homas. So whenever I go to compose things, and when I went to say when I did my capstone project for my degree.
Oh, while you're talking, I'm gonna keep this playing so I get to that part. It sounds like a hymn.
I'm gonna turn it down. I always gravitate towards using nothing but like a string quartet for the beginning. That's always the first thing you'll ever hear me do because it's the most inspiring and beautiful thing to do. With violins, cellos, and the bass. It's really good. I just listen to it.
And then all of a sudden, just like that, we switched to a reed, doing the same thing the guitar was doing, and it sounds beautiful. That is a reed, isn't it? It sounds like a reed.
Some kind of some reed instrument. Sounds like a pan flute. My goodness. I want to take back what I said. I'm definitely wrong. I didn't look into the sound to see how it was made. That is not a sample guitar. That's someone playing a guitar. There was not technology for a sample guitar to make it sound this good. I'm going to take back what I said earlier. I was wrong. This is definitely someone holding a microphone and someone playing guitar.
I can't think of what it was, but like every time I listened to this, like there was a hymn that sounded so much like this that I'd wind up almost singing the hymn aloud to myself. That sounds so much like it.
This is like when you walk into Hobby Lobby and they're playing the weird versions of the real hymns. This is what that is.
It's not hymns that they play. It's like a super soft semi-orchestral, not a whole thing, but like 3 or 4 instruments from an orchestra. Like maybe one or two brass, 1 or 2 woodwind, 1 or 2 string, and that's it. And they'll be playing like freaking like What If His People Prayed with like that.
Thanks, Hobby Lobby. Okay.
Oh well, I don't know it.
We're almost to 8:30. Is there any other things we want to touch on soundtrack wise? We want to finish up the cigars and whiskey and call it a day.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it a day at 8:30, but we can stop the stream.
I'm gonna go back to bed and sleep the entire rest of the day. It is a day for me.
Okay.
Well, okay. Well, that's the late '80s because we just don't care about the rest of the '80s. I'm just gonna be honest. They were not fun to listen to. I know people that have different opinions about them. People really latch on to like the really really old early bit sound. You're allowed to. I just hate it.
So I'm gonna say this.
Say this.
Most of the games.
Yeah.
But definitely all the music pre-NES sucked.
100%. I don't care who composed it. I don't care. It was bad.
I'm sure it was great at the time, but nothing pre-NES aged at all.
No, and that's the thing is NES aged wonderfully. Everyone still has. I know people. This is not a joke. In these groups that I'm a part of that do video game soundtracks on vinyl, pay literally hundreds of dollars for the pressings of these. Hundreds of dollars to get these soundtracks. It's insane to me.
Okay.
But they aged wonderfully. They were so beautifully composed. They stood the test of time. They're fantastic.
Okay, so here's a question though.
Yeah.
We were talking about like soundtrack. The whole purpose of today's podcast mostly was to talk about old video game soundtracks and things like that. Mm-hmm. Why didn't we talk about the first game that had an individual track for every level and that introduced true side-scrolling? I mean, like, you had like some of the older games that had like you'd go. It was basically a big thing that zoomed in, but this actually had scrolling in like to some extent parallax backgrounds and so on. It was the first game to ever have an original soundtrack for every level, and it had I don't remember if it had parallax backgrounds or not, but either way, it was the first one, the first true side-scrolling game. And so why didn't we talk about Mega Man?
I know. Go ahead and pull it up, really. Because the Mega Man's another really good one to talk about for a series. Mm-hmm. Because the evolution of Mega Man soundtracks are pretty great. And I know if you study composition, you'll know that this isn't technically a statement that has anything to do with race, really. There is something shockingly different about... Oh, so good. Mm-hmm. There is something completely different about Japanese composition. Japanese composers just plain compose different. That's different. Different nationalities have different things that they start from, different things that they teach. So because of that, you can hear different feels and different types of compositions when you cross those borders. You just do. It's just the way things are. It's not a racial thing. It's just the way they're taught. Japanese composition has a different type. It's a different way of making you feel things. A different way of portraying emotion. And when you play through a series like Final Fantasy, the reason why it's so iconic and so different is because, oh my goodness, it's just approached differently in a way that we're not used to hearing in here, like with this full-on American composition. Just a fun note that I love thinking about.
And by the way, you guys are gonna say, hey, this was '87. This was after those other games that had like the full soundtrack. This game is different in that it had the first soundtrack for each level. This game had preset levels with true side-scrolling, and every single level had a 100% unique soundtrack.
Yes. Now this is a great example, real quick. So this is still NES. This is the perfect example of coming with 5 different sounds. You ready? Drums, sampler. You have your sample. So you have one thing that's your sound effects for this stuff. Here's your sampler. There's your triangle. There's your triangle. You have 2. You hear the 2 different square waves now? Making harmonies and melodies.
Yeah.
So this is this is one of the first ones we've actually shown to the ladies. You do all 5 voices. Flawlessly. I keep saying that word. I keep overusing it. Flawless. But yeah, you can hear all 5 voices. Perfect. Absolutely love that. And yes, we're not going to talk about Mario. Screw you. We don't care.
I'll talk about Mario. It was good. All right. Now what? All right. So there you go.
But this is superior soundtrack in this little time. My cigar is done.
Mine is nearly done.
Let's pause that. Let's go turn it down a tiny bit. All right. So that was. We'll make that the full conversation. That's what we want to talk about. This is. I think this is the first episode we've actually done a really good podcasty conversation about what we want to talk about.
This is also the first one that we talked about. We want to talk about before time.
And this is not scripted. We do nothing scripted. We're too weird to have a script. But we did have a conversation about what we want to talk about. I think it really helped the direction, and we're going to do it again.
Now, I am going to say later it will be semi-scripted in that you won't see it, but we may have like bullet notes, and that'd be the most script we'll have on this. Yeah. We'll say we want to talk about this and we want to talk about this, but we're not going to say what we want to say about it.
Absolutely.
Everything's going to be off the button.
Okay, so let's talk about the one piece of, we always go into some more modern music. I try to make it newer usually before you play it.
Yep.
This album actually came out 3 weeks ago yesterday. I just thought about today because the pre-orders for this took forever, and I got mine yesterday, 3 weeks late to the date. One of my favorite bands of all time, if not my favorite band of all time.
I was actually going to say it is your favorite band of all time.
It probably is my favorite band of all time. We'll go ahead and say it. I would have wore their shirt today that I got with it, but it was dirty. Periphery.
Do you know why his Periphery shirt was dirty? Or how many Periphery shirts do you have?
3.
Why his Periphery shirts were dirty? Because every once in a while he'll wear a Mastodon shirt. Besides that, if the man is in a t-shirt, it's a Periphery shirt.
I love my Periphery shirt. I love my Periphery. I'm going to quickly preface this. If you don't know who Periphery is,
Southern Gospel, really.
It's a really great Southern Gospel band. Misha Mansour is started this band. He's possibly my favorite modern composer. He's just a phenomenal artist. He started this band, got a group of people around that's changed a tiny bit. And this is their technically 6th studio offering. 4th in the line of like their series of albums. So you have Periphery 1, Periphery 2, Periphery 3, Periphery 4, and they've had some EPs and other albums in between, including instrumental releasing. But this is the latest one. Came out 3 weeks today. It's just called Periphery 4 Hail Stan.
Stan.
Now, this is prog-ish, prog metal, progressive metal. The track I'm playing is very poppy and electronica sounding, but it's my favorite track from the album, so screw you.
Oh!
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Yeah? Can I help you?
I was thinking like when you say Prague, I was thinking like Switzerland.
Oh, no. Not Prague. No, Prague is, instead of saying progressive, you say Prague.
I get it, but I was like, what does, Central Europe, Northern Europe have to do with music? I always hear people say Prague music, there's a I've never seen it spelled though. I think I would have got it if I'd seen it spelled.
Well, prog stands for progressive.
Okay.
So this is progressive metal.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and play it. We're going to play it as we fade out. So let's just go say before you click on it, Cigars, garbage. Let's just go ahead and go with it.
I
Leaf by
don't like
Oscar
them.
Corojo. Great for a $3 stick. By all means, get it. Get you a dart. But I mean, if you're going to have drinking whiskey with friends and have some cigars, go for it, my guy. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Whiskey with friends, yes. It makes white alcohol not taste like death.
Yes.
And it is really good with Four Roses bourbon. I think Four Roses is classical enough bourbon. I think I can say it goes good with bourbon.
With bourbon. I'll give you that too.
It does not go good with this. And I'm going to go on a limb and say Scotch in general, because this is not Scotch, but it's designed to taste enough like a blended Scotch that I don't think it would taste good with a Scotch.
Fair enough. That's our opinion. We didn't touch tips and smoke it today, but we should have.
Yeah.
So as we fade out, thanks for listening.
Tip.
We appreciate you. This is It's Only Smiles by Periphery from Periphery 4. Go buy it.
Media.
We've all got those things crawling under what they perceive. We know sharp fangs and they chewing the time alone. Oh my God, it's telling me, oh it's telling me why. No, she'd rather see a man up than me undone.
Voice is adding a great
Rip a hole in my life, but no matter the things I do, never get over it. I said goodbye from a place so far from my door. The truth, cause words mean nothing to fleeting youth. Rip a hole in my life when it's bringing me back to you.
That sounded like some sort of metaphorical statement.
What?
I dropped it in my ashtray, and the ashtray is deep.
The ashtray is deep, my guy.
Okay, so not the music, but this singer has really made me think of another singer.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to play a song.
Hold on, play the chorus, play the chorus, play the chorus, play the chorus.
Been trying to work it out, gotta get away from the sights and sounds, keep it underground. I don't wanna be.
I have to play this song.
That's fine, do it. We'll do more things. I don't give a crap. Throwback.
Like, the guy made me think so much of this guy that I had to play the song. Also, there's another half. This is Loving Your Arms by 11 Seconds. Yeah, you can go. Bye. Bye.
I've been looking for anything to point me in the right direction. Time is running out, and I still haven't figured out quite how I'm gonna reach perfection. Everybody is laying down the law. They're all amazingly opinionated. I know there must be something more than what the world is believing in. I was lost in a place no one wants to be. Trying hard to convince my heart to believe you were there all along. I just couldn't see. There's a love in your arms that's waiting for me. I never bother with the politics. In the end, they never really matter at all. So stop telling me who I wanna be. Freedom means
So now we've played something ridiculous. You're welcome. Let's get some fade out music. What are we fading out with?
Wow, look at that.
Look at what? What are you looking at? What's happening?
Content issues detected. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. I don't believe it. Okay, so,
Well, we've copyrighted audio. Look at that.
That's fine.
Who cares? We're going to play it later anyways.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Okay.
we're allowed to review music. Screw you, YouTube.
Yeah. Get off it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her. Actually, I wonder if I can. like, if I can like get on here before we go, I wonder if I can get into this and like if I can look at the. Actually, let me pull this up real quick on my thing. Let me see if we're live. I'm curious now. Super.
It's up to the top. It's up to the top.
Okay, so it says we're live. Let me see if the stream is playing, because I'm curious. Oh, I need to disconnect that. Stop cat.
We're good at
stop casting.
planning things ahead.
We're good.
Yeah.
Well, we're still live,
Okay,
so screw you,
like,
YouTube.
Like, let me.
Well, we're still live, so screw you.
Pause that. Pause
This
that.
game is different. Actual instrument sounds.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, whatever. It
Yeah.
worked. We're just reviewing music. I
Yeah.
don't care what you say, YouTube.
Yeah. Screw you guys.
Screw you, YouTube, who's the platform we're currently using. We should probably have rethought that statement.
Not everyone knows. Even YouTube knows YouTube sucks.
YouTube sucks. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.